allegiance to the flag with us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and again, welcome. Brad, any changes or adjustments to the agenda?
There are none, Your Honor.
Any public comments written?
We received one that we'll talk about within the other business.
Okay. Public comment section, this is a time for people to address us on any issues that are not on the agenda. We would entertain those comments at this time, if it's not on the agenda. Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward with the consent agenda. The following items are considered non-controversial by staff and are recommended to be read and passed in one motion. Any councilperson, staff, citizen, or meeting attendee can request one or more items be pulled from the consent agenda. And yet will be pulled and addressed immediately after the passage of the consent agenda. Otherwise, the following items will be passed in one motion. Number one, approve the city council work session minutes from November 6, 2024. Number two, approve the city council minutes from November 6, 2024. Number three, approve the city council special minutes from November 7th, 2024. Number four, approve the city council special minutes from November 13th, 2024. Number five, approve the payment of bills and finance report. Number six, accept the utilities commission minutes from November 7th, 2024. Number seven, accept the Trunk Highway 371 development traffic review report and approve the restriping of Delwood Drive to include a center lane, a left turn lane between White Road and Novotny Road as part of the 2025 improvements project. Number nine, accept the Camping World Site redevelopment traffic impact study. Number nine, approve the Essentia Health escrow agreement for utility improvements. Number 10, approve Anderson Brothers Construction final pay estimate number 12 in the amount of $27,372.49. Contingent upon receiving an IC-134 tax forms and completion of the final DCP forms for 2022 Trunk Highway 210 and Inglewood Drive Railway Crossing Improvements Project, municipal project number 4121. Number 11, approve Bolton and Make Inc. fee amendment proposal for professional services in the not to exceed amount of $4,987 for the 2024 pavement management plan and capital improvement plan assistance project. Number 12, approve the Aztec final pay estimate number 3 in the amount of $19,229.71. Contingent upon IC-134 forms being submitted for the 2024 microservicing project. And amend the project budget from $639,664.86 to $643,388.26. Number 13, approve R.L. Larson Excavating Inc. partial pay estimate number 7 in the amount of $842,645.89 for the 2024 South Forest View Area Improvements Project, municipal project number 4138. Number 14, approve the Kramer Trucking and Excavating Inc. final pay estimate number 9 in the amount of $72,490.50 for the 2023 Cypress Drive and Douglas Fir Drive Improvements Project. Number 15, approve the Trout Company's change order number 2 for additional well exploration services related to the 2024 well replacement exploration services in the amount of $33,940. Number 16, approve Trout Company's partial pay estimate number 1 in the amount of $105,333.39 for the 2024 well exploration drilling services contract related to the 2024 well replacement exploration services. Number 17, approve the Knife River Corporation North Central change order number 6 in the increased amount of $67,831.65 and extend the final completion date for the 2024 mill and overlay and full depth reclamation improvements project, municipal project number 4424. Number 18, approve the Knife River Corporation's North Central partial pay estimate number 6 in the amount of $455,315.76 for the 2024 mill and overlay and full depth reclamation improvements project, municipal project number 4424. Number 19, approve the Anderson Brothers Construction change order number 3 in the amount of $2,000,000.75 and increase the project budget from $264,671.55 to $266,290.30 for the lift station number 13 reconstruction project. Number 20, approve the Anderson Brothers Construction partial pay estimate number 3 in the amount of $3,618.75 for the lift station number 13 reconstruction project. Number 21, approve Pratt's Affordable Excavating Inc. partial pay estimate number 1 in the amount of $375,721.74 for the 2024 County State Aid Highway 77 Utility Improvements Project, municipal project number 4118. 22, approve the WITSEP agreement for professional engineering services in the not to exceed amount of $155,400 for the 2026 Evergreen Drive Stormwater Outlet Improvements Project. 23, adopt resolution 2024-091, approving the sale of lots 5 and 6, block 1, Northdale 6th edition, and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents related to the sale. Number 24, adopt resolution 2024-094 to reallocate the assessment of parcel 4012057.9 and amend the assessment roll for the 2024 mill and overlay and full depth reclamation project, city project number 4424 for the reallocation. 25, approve the Anderson Brothers Construction change order number 10 in the increased amount of $8,783.25. Extend the final completion date to December 31st, 2024, and amend the project budget by the increased amount of $12,113.36 for a total budget of $4,488,148.58 for the 2023 commercial and residential full depth reclamation and quiet zone improvements project. 26, accept planning and zoning commission minutes from November 12th, 2024. I'm going to pull 27 until after we're done with the, we're going to do the certification of delinquent bills after we're done with the consent agenda. Number 27. 28, adopt resolution number 2024-082, ordering improvement. I'm sorry. Oh, I went too far. I sure did. Sorry about the motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thanks, Zach. Now we're in other business. We're still going to pull 27. So we're on 28, then adopt resolution number 2024-082. So much reading, my eyes glazed over. Ordering improvement and preparation of plans for the 2025 commercial full depth reclamation improvements project, municipal number 4425. Brad?
Are we on order? Is the public hearing the first item in other business with Jeremy?
No, that is on afterwards.
Okay.
Mayor Fulton.
I just wanted to make sure. Just want to make sure. As it relates to resolution 024082, ordering the improvement for the 25 commercial full depth reclamation, council has attended several meetings. First, several with the engineering firm, and outlining the feasibility report and the improvement hearing that happened earlier this month related to the project. Time has been set aside this evening to talk about the project. Engineering staff is proposing authorization to move forward. By state statute, it does require a four-fifths, excuse me, a four-fifths vote. Again, the roads that are part of the project is Edgewood from the Botany to 77, Lake Forest from Edgewood to the dead end, Whispering Pines just north of Menards, and a portion of the road just north of Menards, and Audubon Way. With that, the floor is to the council for discussion.
Council thoughts?
I was unable to attend that last meeting, so I'd like to hear what the rest of the council's thoughts are.
If I can, just beforehand, I just want to make sure it's on record, we did receive another letter of objection that was either in your box or laid in front of you this evening if you didn't get to your mailbox, from the owners of Party World stating their objections. So I just want to make sure that that's a record as well.
To answer your question, there were 3 parties, I think, here, and all 3 were wanting it to be pushed back. 3 out of, with the 23, Trevor, how many?
How many property owners?
28.
28 property owners.
We heard from 3. Well, 3 here, and then 1, the lodge, 2 have been written up there. If that answers your question or not, but
I guess I have maybe not a comment, but a question for the engineers, either city or Whitsett. It looks like in the most recent, in our packet tonight, evaluations of these roads have one of them at a 5, a couple of them at Pacer ratings for at a 4 and 6 on Lake Forest. Is that accurate? Okay. It looks like in 2022, they were all at a 6 or a 7. And with one very mild winter, these roads have, I guess it's a 2-part question. In 2 winters, one being very mild, they've gone from a 6 and a 7 to a 4, 4s and 5s is my first question. And then the second question is, in the improvement project hearing 19 days ago, they were estimated at a 5 to 6. So within the last 19 days, the estimation went from a 5 to a 6, from a 5-6 to a, somebody's gone out there and determined that they were at 4s.
I took and thought it was prudent after taking and doing the improvement hearing to ask our engineering firm that does the Pacer rating to go out there and take a look and get a current snapshot. Bolton Mink is the engineering firm. Did not tell them why I was doing it. I said, go out there and walk these 4 segments of road. They only walked the 3, they only walked all of Edgewood, from Devontae to 77, all of Lake Forest Road, and all of Audubon Way. So it's a snapshot in time, and this goes to show what happens at the end of that curve. The useful life after 20 years of bituminous, it drops off really fast. How many more years it will make it? I don't know, but it's just a snapshot in time of what happens. They did it's actually about 2.5 years, Councilmember Phillips. They did it in the spring of 2022. It was Bolton and Mink that did it then. The engineer was Brian Brown. He walked them himself, I believe, and gave us a snapshot in time. That's all it is.
Is that a report or just?
He did not write it up on a formal report. He did it in an email to me to keep the costs as minimal as possible. I think that's a couple hours is all that's into it to walk them. And the one thing he found is there is one section in between Arrowwood Lodge entrance and just for kids that actually would rate a 4 on the Pacer rating today. But it's block cracking is what he's seeing by walking it. You don't feel it in the ride, but the block cracking is pretty significant in 2 spots, one on Lake Forest and one on Edgewood Drive. The one on Edgewood Drive is north of Lake Forest Road in between Party World and Lake Forest Road, Toyota there. So it's just a snapshot to give you more information. What you do with it is up to the city council.
I think the sentiment was that they could maybe go another couple of years. And that's simplifying the whole lens conversation.
I'll ask a couple of questions then as follow-up. I'm assuming based on the fact that we're here, that it's your recommendation as the city engineer that this project be done in this time frame. guess if you could give a little context to that, because we're in a place where we're doing this every fall, every winter, we have another neighborhood or commercial area that's getting done. So I just would like to get a little bit more discussion about, you know, the plans, the order, why we're here for this one at this time, and then kind of a, you know, so we move this one back. I know we did this with some residential a couple of years ago, and then the next year we were looking at the same project and had the same objections the next year. I just don't know if you have any other commentary on how we fit all these things together.
We're working on the CIP, and of course, that's what happens, is that it's a domino effect of how it affects the rest of the road system. The thing is with the commercial is that we're just about done with the commercial FDRs and upgrading them to a 10-ton road. So pushing this commercial doesn't hurt it tremendously. There's only a couple areas left on the commercial. We started the commercial right away, and we haven't stopped commercial even through COVID. The one thing we did is we kept doing commercial every single year. So we have not had the peaks and valleys on the commercial like we're basing on residential, because we took three years off and did no residential FDR or mill and overlay, 20, 21, and 22. So that's why you're seeing it on residential building up to having a lot to do in a short period of time. So commercial doesn't hurt us tremendously, but I know that we can't put it into 2026. If we don't do it 25, 2026 will not work for it right now with the way it looks on the CIP that we're putting together. So the earliest would be 2027, and by 2027, how far gone will it be because of the age of that road, you know? So that's the only thing is how much increased maintenance will it be? I worry about maintenance in the commercial area because of safety for the workers, and we don't really have the amount of equipment and staff to do that maintenance properly, you know? So we go out there early in the morning, so if we have to do more of it, you know, throughout the day, there's some of that safety concern. But that put aside, if you pushed it to 2027, wouldn't be the end of the world. The other choice is do you push all of it? If you push just Lake Forest and Audubon Way and split this project so that, you know, Lake Forest Road, Edgewood Drive doesn't get done until 2027, and you still go ahead with Audubon Way and Whispering Woods Lane. Whispering Woods Lane, we missed that segment. It was supposed to have been done this year. It's Menards. It really needs to be done. And then Audubon Way does have that really bad spot behind Von Hansen's and Maury's on that one segment we believe that it's failing structurally, the road bed. And then we got another problem on Audubon Way is we got a separated sanitary sewer pipe that's got an I&I issue. We do have I&I on Edgewood Drive in front of Jack Pine Brewery up through by the Toyota dealership of some services that are leaking at the Ys that really need to be fixed, that we were going to do with the project, because we may have to dig them up, we may be able to slip line them, it might be either or. If we don't have to dig it up, we can still slip line them next year, you know, without taking and doing the roadway. But we showed it in the presentation that those were all 100% city costs. We weren't assessing those back to the property owners. So some other issues are out there too. It's not just the road bed itself.
So I'm going to read that. Follow to that too is, I keep driving these roads trying to figure out, you know, what should we be doing? Can we split the project up, or is there enough there to bid? Or okay. I think Audubon is a mess, and I really do think that. Plus, in addition to the sewer problems there, that if it's possible to do some standalone stuff, I think that this is my opinion, voice of one, that we should probably do that. And segment of, Lake, whatever it was there.
Whispering with Lane.
Well, that too, but the one down by the old place there, going east and west. You just said the name.
Lake Forest
Yeah.
Road.
If we think that that one is bad enough and needs to be done, you know, if we can split it, yeah, bid wise and still have enough there to bid is what I'm saying too, you know, or maybe just all of them, I'm not sure, but I do think that that should be done if it's at all possible. It's pretty bad.
I agree with that. I too drive those roads quite a bit. In my mind, I'm thinking with these roads in the condition that they're in, are they gonna prevent me from going to where I wanna get to? And they won't. I'll still be able to get there, so I would be an advocate for postponing with the exception of one-way. And what was the second one? Whispering?
You'd like to finish Whispering?
Whispering with Lane, I'd like to finish like
Yeah.
Menard, so it's all done
Yeah.
roughly at the same time, and it's perfect timing, because they'll be done with construction, and they've been using that segment to go in and out of their new parking lot, back to their construction, so they've beat it up really good too during construction. So it is kind of good we didn't do it this year, hindsight being 2020, knowing that they constructed this year, so. And then it helps on the financial picture too, going ahead, is that doing nothing piles stuff up further down in this whole CIP. So doing something rather than nothing does help that overall financial picture to keep us, trying to keep more of an even keel each year and not having the peaks and valleys. But if you are gonna move it, I'd move it at a minimum to 2027. Those segments of Lake Forest Road and Edgewood Drive. And then we can put it into CIP and see what the new update looks like.
Anybody else?
I'll make a motion that we split the project as discussed and push off, the other half to 2027.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just for clarification, the roads that would proceed in 25 would be Audubon Way and Whispering Pines
Whispering.
Whispering.
That's what we discussed.
Whispering something.
and Lake Forest and Edgewood are postponed or delayed.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So where are we at with 29?
I was just gonna ask Trevor that question, being that the project has been split out, do you want to pull 29 and get a revised number, or how would you like to proceed?
We could take it, I anticipated that as one option, and of course, dropping this contract altogether if they drop the whole project, so we do have the number. I was anticipating two different options tonight, so
So what is the number?
what is the number? Not to exceed amount of $64,435.
So moved.
Motion by Cross,
Second.
second by Lucille. Any further discussion? Thank you. All in favor? Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So we got through 28 and 29. Number 30. Mr. Godey?
Thank you, Your Honor, Counsel. This is a request for a planning and development to basically remodel and redevelop, in a sense, the existing camping world site for Essentia Health, The request is to remodel 68,000 square feet of the 110,000 square foot building. The facility would be a musculoskeletal center and would include a number of different care options within multiple uses within the space. The applicant's here, and I'll let them describe the space rather than me. I'll move on to some of the site things here. I just want to touch on briefly. This is the subject property. The solid blue line is the existing property. I dashed the frontage properties as well because this is a planned unit development that includes 2 additional properties, those 2 frontage lots where Caribou Coffee is located, the building with Chipotle and the other commercial tenants. Both of those are in the overall planned unit development. So this is amending that overall PUD, although there's really no changes to those frontage properties, with one exception I'll just touch on in a few minutes. So this is the existing survey of the property as how it's developed today. You can see on the north part of the site, one of the things I want to just point out is you've got these large parking stalls. Those are camper parking stalls. Obviously, being familiar with the site, there's that wrought iron fence enclosure around that area, and then black coated chain link fence around this whole north area. So that's an area where there's site changes proposed in addition to some changes with the building that I'll talk through in a minute. And then there's also changes to this whole front area of the parking lot, which I'll just show as we switch to the site plan that's proposed. So really what we're looking at here from a parking lot perspective is we're getting rid of all the RV parking spaces, obviously, and transitioning to a customer vehicle parking lot scenario. The applicant is proposing parking lot islands throughout. Also in this front area is an area of significant change in terms of just how it's going to operate. There's green space that's been added with a dedicated one-way entrance area, which brings you to the front of the building for some space to stage in the front, as well as a dedicated handicap parking area, and then a one-way exit coming back to that same intersection, which is the primary intersection entrance to the site. The rest of the parking lot lays out very similarly to the way it sits today. There is a pharmacy with the use and the drive-through for that pharmacy, which is part of the PUD request here tonight. And that pharmacy drive-through is on the south end of the building, where customers could drive in from the south and then exit to the east. This is a landscape plan showing the subject site. There is some PUD flexibility requested with parking lot islands, although there are more parking lot islands being added with the site than there are today with the existing parking lot. And the last PUDs asked for the same flexibility for these rows of 16 parking stalls. The ordinance says you should have an island every 10. The flexibility, the ordinance talks about existing parking lots that have those kind of odd numbers. It can be burdensome to put in too many islands when you have when you have much less than 10 spaces if you put islands in the middle. So there's PUD flexibility requested for that. You can see the landscaping is dominated into the central parking lot area with all of the islands and the entrance area. I would note that there's a lot of existing landscaping with former PUDs that are on the site also. So this is a floor plan of the building. You can see the various colors in the floor plan represent different types of uses and services within the building. One thing I will point out is on the north part of the site, you can see this light gray color. That's future program space. They're not utilizing the whole building at start, but they are using over half of the building at day one if approved by the city. These are elevations of the building. As you can tell from how the existing building looks, it will drastically change the look of the building. The footprint of the actual walls is not changing in terms of expansion of the building itself, but the exterior appearance will drastically change with these elevations. Specifically on the front, this is the front elevation as you're looking westerly at the front of the building. This is the south wall, the north wall, and then the back wall as well. and just some other renderings showing how the facility would look once completed. Just a few things to touch on. One is with parking. The site is going to be overparked at day one, utilizing not the whole entire space. But we wanted to do a parking calculation that factored if the building was to fill up entirely with medical use, how would those parking numbers come out? They would end up with 120 stall parking shortage. That's at full build out of the facility as exclusively medical use, which is the highest dominated parking need of use that you could do. So to address that shortage, they have submitted a proof of parking plan that shows how those 120 stalls could be accommodated on the site, and those are shown on the site plan, basically in this northwest corner of the site, where you could add more parking up there, on the south end of the site here, and then adding some striping within the loading dock areas in these areas of the property. The resolution with the PUD is drafted such that if there's a documented parking problem in the future, then the owners would be asked to add that parking as needed. In terms of sidewalk connections, this was a largely discussed item with some of the past PUDs for this site. There's a lot of interest in pedestrian connectivity from surrounding property owners, and there's just a large private system that's been added over the years with various developments. And all of those sidewalk connectivity pieces have been maintained with the proposed development, even though the parking lot's being revised. All of those outward connections are being kept and maintained, some in slightly different ways, but they are all still those same connections. There's two to the north. There's a pedestrian connection to the east, as well as another one to the south that heads to Foods to the south. I already discussed parking lot islands. One item I wanted to talk about just for briefly is the freestanding signage. We do have a sign plan here. This sign is actually the only part of the PUD that's off-site. This existing sign is on the Caribou property. The Caribou property out front along Edgewood Drive. One thing I wanted to note is on the planning commission meeting, we did have the wrong sign plan in the packet, which is, this sign is actually slightly smaller in square footage than the existing sign that's on the property, but it is 5 feet taller than the existing sign that's on the property. So I wanted to note that change from the planning commission meeting. So they are requesting a sign that is taller from what was presented. That was a staff error on our part, so I did want to point out that change moving forward with the presentation tonight.
But this sign meets our ordinance.
This is a PUD, so the signage is a free request. The sign is off-site. The sign already exceeds our ordinance requirements in terms of height, but not area. So it is a higher sign.
Does that keep back to the height of the building?
It does.
And
It
the
does.
height of the building change?
The height of the building is changing slightly, but I think it would still be in that flexibility category with a 40-foot sign. Okay. Cover the pharmacy a little bit. There is PUD flexibility requested for the lack of an escape lane from the pharmacy. Obviously, different drive-throughs function differently. This is a pharmacy. Just looking at the site plan here, there's less stacking spaces than you would typically require with a restaurant drive-through or other types of drive-through uses. There is no technical escape lane where people want to get out of this lane. So the way we address that, there is a condition in the approval that that if there's documented parking problems with it not being an escape lane, that the owners consider one of those drive-up spaces where, you know, a pharmacy prescription pickup is taking too long, they can direct people to a parking space, kind of to keep that flowing freely if there's any issues. Traffic was discussed in detail at the work session. Happy to answer any questions. Obviously, our traffic engineer is also here, so I won't recover those items that were discussed earlier tonight. The Utilities Commission did recommend approval of the subject contingent on an escrow agreement, which is all part of the package here this evening. And with that, the Planning Commission recommends approval of the PUD. Happy to answer any questions.
Council, any questions of Josh? Applicant, do you have any questions?
What does the planner recommend?
We recommend approval to the planning commission.
So just a question, is the urgent care moving from the other facility to this facility?
It is, correct, and then we'll add orthopedic urgent care as well, so that will be a new addition to this, or this urgent care.
Todd, I wonder if you want to introduce yourself. The P and Z people know all your people, but the council probably hasn't. You just want to make, not to put you on the spot.
No, thank you. And I'm Todd DeFreeze, I'm Senior Vice President for Operations with Essentia Health. And so I jointly with Sandy, am responsible for our Brainerd Baxter location.
So just clarification on what was just mentioned with urgent care. Is urgent care still going to exist in the Baxter Clinic as it is, or will it just be
No, so
doing
the-
this new location?
No, so the urgent care would relocate from the existing Baxter location to this location.
Okay.
And we would backfill the urgent care with additional primary care. And there would still be same-day access in that building.
And there would be urgent care at the Brainerd Clinic still?
We do not have.
There is no urgent care at all?
No, just at Baxter.
Okay.
We do have it at one of our satellite clinics, and we're looking at other satellite clinics.
Good to go.
I've got one other question.
Sure.
It's just, it's more of a bigger picture question that has nothing to do with the approval tonight. But I'm curious about, did you all, from an operations perspective, do your own analysis of how many parking spaces you would need when this thing is fully built out or now compared to what our ordinance requires by chance? Do you have an opinion on the need for parking at this location?
So and I'll let Jason and Sandy talk.
I have an opinion.
You know, we could just ask the architect how many chairs are in this building.
Hi, I'm Sandy Guzwichek, I'm the Vice President of Operations. So we did do our own analysis based on the schedule of our providers. So one of the things I think that's different about specialty care is that they're not going to all be here on the same day or Monday through Friday. Because we do have 12 clinics throughout the Brainerd Lakes area, they do provide specialty care at many of our satellite clinics. When we took a look at this, I think the number that we've been given is higher than what we'll most likely need. Plus, the urgent care is open beyond 4:30 when our specialists work, and it's open Saturday and Sunday. So I think I think we'll have plenty of parking is what I'm saying. I think the estimate is high.
I'm Jason Jackson, I'm in charge of facilities for the Brainerd area. I agree with Sandy. With Baxter Clinic, if you go there even on a heavy day, there's open spots. Based on times of schedules and rotations of staff. So I agree that that estimate's probably gonna be high. We'll have a lot of open spots, but
Answers my question, thank you.
Any other questions?
Anybody else?
Just a question for Zach. Is there a remedy that you think should be addressed?
I ask because this has been a long-standing question I've asked. I think we have plenty of parking in our city, and I assumed that there was a chance that we were going for more parking than was maybe necessary from an operational perspective, but everyone's doing their best, and you can't always know exactly what it's gonna be and write an ordinance 10 years ahead of time to figure it out, but just wanted to check to see what the perspective was.
But does that number, Josh, include the space that's not rented yet? It's not rented yet.
Right. The numbers we were talking about with the shortage was evaluating the building at full capacity,
Full.
which is not going to be at day one.
No, right.
Could you flip back to the?
Sure. The other thing I point out too is the other thing that we thought through is that everything that you see that's parking spaces is existing pavement today. So to reduce the parking down would be a ask for them to actually remove parking that they may need to add in the future, maybe not, but, so that's why we really push further to try to get lower. We're always looking to have ordinance compliance. The proof of parking is a great tool. If you don't think you need as much parking, you can use that proof of parking tool to protect everyone's interests, because if you end up too short, then it's a problem, because then you have people where there is no other options, right, for on-street parking. So you gotta make sure you have enough, but you also don't want too much. So we generally have the same goals with those things, but
So we're talking about condition of pavement, so how's the condition of the parking lot?
I believe it's pretty good. I think it was overlaid recently, if I'm not mistaken, so.
Camping World overlay.
Yeah, I think so.
Did they?
Yeah.
Do you do something similar with handicap parking? Do you look at the operations and how many patients you typically see during a given hour that requires handicap parking?
We have patients with all sorts of mobility concerns.
Right, yeah.
So we're always going to focus on making sure that there's parking available for anybody that needs it, and we're generally heavy on handicap parking.
Okay, good.
And that whole front entrance there where you can see where they can pull up and park, there's a big emphasis on that area because a lot of the patients coming into this building are going to be coming in with a sprain, a strain, a fracture, post-surgical. So that's a zero curb there, so there's no curb. So whether they're on, one of the scooters, or they have a walker, or they're in a wheelchair, they'll be able to access it from really every one of those parking lots, even if they don't park in the handicap area, depending on where they're at in their stage of care. So there was a lot of thought put into the front of that building. And I think just having all of those specialties on one level, no stairs, no elevators, anything like that is gonna be a huge advantage, to this group. So, patients that we're gonna treat in here.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience got a question for these people while we got them here? Anyway, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just want to reiterate what Mr. Doty said at the council, at the P&Z meeting about working with them. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but talked about how it was enjoyable working with you people, how everybody worked so well together. Project came together pretty fast. It's huge and it's big, and it came together fast, and everybody worked. And he made comment of that, so we appreciate that too. So, all right, look for a motion on that then.
So moved.
Second, motion by Carl, second by Jeff. All in favor?
I,
All same sign, motion carries. Okay, we're gonna go back to number 27. We need to have a public hearing on certification of delinquent utility bills, invoices, abatement changes.
Your Honor and Council, you have before you a list of the proposed utility bills that are proposed to be certified to be collected with the county property taxes next year. If for delinquent utility bills that are more than 90 days past due. Historically, we've adopted an assessment on those unpaid bills, at least annually or semi-annually, for collection of the following year's property taxes. So these are the unpaid bills as of yesterday that would be certified if unpaid before the end of the year, for next year's property taxes with accrued interest and fees.
Any questions of Jeremy? Open the public hearing at 7:44. Anybody here to address these situations? Seeing none, we'll close it at 7:44:30. Bring it back to the council for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Delicio,
second.
second by Tappan. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. And we're at council comments.
I'd just like to wish everyone happy Thanksgiving coming up next week, and I hope we all have time with their family and friends. That's all.
Next.
just looking ahead, I think I've brought this up in the past, but we're kind of running close on time now. The next legislative session is coming, and I believe we're starting to run out of runway on our sales tax. So I have had these concerns, and I think most of the group probably agrees or is wondering what's going to happen with that when that comes around again. And I just wanted to mention that I think it's worth doing more as a city than just relying strictly on the the local option sales tax, because we are not necessarily the same as a lot of the cities that the legislators are gonna be thinking of, as they're basically trying to cut down on flexibility and remove local option sales taxes for the variety of reasons that they have. Bluntly, we would lose that likely in the way things look like they have been in recent discussions. And I think we need to go the opposite way, because we're a rural hub and people are coming from 30, 60, 90 miles away and using our streets, and we have to basically have a more built out city than the average 8,600 resident city in this state has. So there's a lot of good reasons why I think we can take an argument to the legislature, and maybe it helps other cities as well, but ours is a situation that I think is a good example of why we should have some flexibility.
Good point. Mark?
Nothing at this time.
Sorry, I missed you.
Concur.
Concur that I missed you.
Yes. And with Mark's nothing. No, I concur with Zach on everything.
Let's get down, let's go.
Yes.
And then there's me. I want to beat a dead horse here, but everybody, we're talking about roads tonight. For every year we put them off, it's just everybody keeps that in mind. It goes up another 3 to 8% what it is. So 2 years from now, it won't be any better. But what I'd like to say, and again, voice of one, but I think, and maybe you're already doing this, Trevor, but I think we need to really pay attention to and document what it costs us, not just these roads, but roads in general, that are borderlining, what it's costing us to maintain them over the course of a year. Because I think we're gonna have to raise our road budget. And if we can document that, why it's coming to that, what it's costing that, we'll be able to explain better next December when we have our budget meeting, why those numbers are there. So you're probably already doing that, but if not, make sure it's really, really accurate and happening. City Administrator.
Yes, we have number 36 on the agenda, looking for the appointment of 2 council members that represent the city council for a step 3 grievance. A grievance has been submitted by ASBE for disputing a disciplinary action against an employee, or issued to an employee. The grievance has reached step 3, which is to appeal it to the city council or its representative based on the provisions of the CBA. The city has 20 days from the date of the filing of that grievance to set a time to hear the grievance. We are recommending that council appoint 2 of its members to be the representation of the city council through this grievance process, being that we have a short period of time to respond. So,
Any volunteers? I volunteer. You got Mark? Going once?
I prefer not to, just for scheduling reasons, but I don't know that I'd be helpful right now in that short time frame.
Yes, I would prefer not to, simply because I have a relative who works for the city, but if need be, I would, if there are no alternatives.
Time frame, are you looking at doing it? Again, is it 20 days?
Within 20 days of the filing, so November 27th, unless there's an extension that's agreed to by the city and the union.
I'd be honored to allow you to do it.
So it's been spoken.
So,
Make a motion to appoint myself and Jeff for the grievance. Second.
All in favor?
I
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Thanks, guys.
thank you.
I would motion to close the open meeting.
All in favor? That ends the regular city council meeting. We now invite a closed meeting. So, thanks for coming.
Get out.